How can support workers prevent becoming burned out?
Well, the first thing I want to do is tell you the question's wrong. Okay? Because my research has shown in the last 6 years, and the current research on how workers are doing during the pandemic shows that burnout is not the issue. Okay, and there have been some other studies. I just looked at another study that came from the States, lousy study, but anyway, the results, I mean, lousy in terms of the methodology that was used. Um, but where to go with it is that while burnout continues to be an issue, pervasive in the social services sector, in any kind of human services. Actually, what we found is that it's traumatic stress that is much higher and much more prevalent. So what we're currently finding is it's between 51 and 56% of all workers who are working in the homeless sector, are suffering from rates of traumatic stress that would qualify for a PTSD diagnosis. Over half. Okay, that's that you can't dismiss that, and this is across the country. The other thing that we're finding, or the preliminary results show, that those people who are actually working in the shelters face to face have a slightly lower rate of traumatic stress than people who are working at a distance from home, where they're able to control and determine when and how often they're actually meeting face to face with clients. So they're suffering more than the people who are in the shelters, which is not what we expected to find. So why am I saying that traumatic stress is a greater issue than burnout? Well, when you have burnout, you have people who are suffering from feeling disenchanted, disillusioned, they're cynical, they no longer care. Their compassion, satisfaction, the ability to derive some satisfaction from the process of helping other people has gone down, way down to virtually being non-existent. The people that we're talking about are people who are feeling highly stressed but continue to care. So now they're suffering from some psychological injury that is a result of doing the caring work, but they're also suffering from a moral dilemma of wanting to help but feeling so emotionally depleted that they can't. So what we're talking about is we're talking about that stress and emotional depletion rather than just burnout. Because people who are burned out have checked out. And what we're talking about is the people who haven't checked out, but they're really suffering from this. So how can we help them? Well, one of the things that at least my work is showing right now is that we rely on the support of our colleagues and our supervisors. When that's not available, such as when you're working at a distance from home, you're more likely to feel that stressed and have no place to diffuse. So that we know that being able to share over a cup of coffee, over the water cooler, over going for a 10-minute walk, outside, those are all ways that we can help to it doesn't take away the whole burden, but it helps to lessen it a little bit. And what we have to do is find ways to lessen the burden until the pandemic hopefully survives. And we have to find ways of saying that meditation is not just for those yoga gurus. Okay, it's not just for the people who are into Zen ideology, but it really is an extremely effective, very helpful way to help people to reduce their stress. It's been shown to work. It's also been shown that people have preferred kinds of activities that help to put them in a safe zone, to help they put them in a less stressful zone, and those need to be individually identified. They're not all the same for everyone. So we have to help people to identify self-caring activities. We have to help people to identify and recognize that most people have been through traumatically stressful events, and they've had to learn to cope with them. It's not You can't just argue the fact that you have an emotional reaction. But the minute you stop fighting the emotional reaction and say, okay, this is what it is, now what can I do to deal with it? And help the managers and supervisors to recognize that this is part of taking care of staff. It's not enough to give people time for a coffee break. You know, the coffee break mentality came out of the industrial productive thing that said you gotta give people 15 minutes to regroup before they go back to work in front of their machine. It helps to reduce machine accidents. You have to do that psychologically and morally as well if you want to reduce the moral accidents and if you want to reduce the moral strength. So getting that and getting people to recognize that when you say I need time out, it's not a sign of weakness. It no more than it is to say I need to go to the gas station and fill up my gas tank. I can't drive on an empty tank. Well, you can't drive personally on an empty tank either. So, yeah, so how do we help people to deal with that is, first of all, recognize that this is part of being human. Okay? And there's nothing superhuman about saying I can keep going when you can't. One of the interesting things with this latest research project, looking at how people are coping, is also recognizing how important it is for everybody to be knowledgeable about what trauma-informed care is all about, and that trauma-informed care is not just about how you look at your clients; it's also how you look at yourself.